Qadir Gilani saying, bestow blessings on our Master Muhammad ﷺ, whose light was created first, and whose appearance is a mercy for all the worlds, as many times as the number of your creations past and yet to come, amongst those that are blessed and those that are unfortunate, such blessings that are unlimited and unbounded, countless, endless, never finishing, such blessings as everlasting as you, and on his family and companions, and in the same manner complete peace and blessings as well. O believers, welcome to you on this holy day of Jummah, on the 9th day of the month of Rabiul Akhir. In the Jummah day, we must run to remember our Lord, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, O you who believe, when the call is proclaimed to prayer on Jummah, run to the zikr of Allah and leave off business. That is best for you if you only knew. O believers, do not forget your Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not forget your Prophet, Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi wasalam. Do not forget your Shaykh, Sahibul Seyh, Qadasallah Hasir. And remember that we have not been created for play or for entertainment. Remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the children of Adam for a mission and for a purpose. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to us in Surah Al-Mu'minun, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, did you think that we created you uselessly and that to us you would not be returned? O believers, do you think that the return to Allah is some far away fantasy? It is right in front of us. This dunya, this lying dunya, is deceiving us into thinking that we will be here forever. But the life of this dunya is only the blink of an eye. Are we prepared for what happens when our eye opens? Shah Merdan Hazrati Ali Karamallahu Wajha is saying, O dunya, are you trying to fool me? Are you staring at me with some hope from me? Get away. Get away and use your tricks and traps on someone else, because I have divorced you. I have divorced you 3 times. Your life is short. Your company is shameful. And people easily get into trouble because of you. Aman, aman. The supplies for this journey are few. The journey is long. And the road is frightening. And Imam al-Ghazali, Hujjatul Islam, Qadasallah Sir, is giving the example of how heedless man is in this dunya. He is saying that there was once a man who was walking in the jungle. All of a sudden, a huge lion began charging at that man. And the man began running away. He saw that there was a well in front of him. So he grabbed the rope of the well and jumped inside to be safe from the lion. Just as the man was feeling he was safe, he looked at the bottom of the well and he saw a huge snake that was opening its jaws ready to eat him. The man then looked at the rope and saw a black mouse and a white mouse chewing away at the rope. The lion is waiting for him outside. The snake is waiting for him underneath. And these 2 mice are chewing at the rope. The man is terrified, thinking how he's going to escape. All of a sudden, he sees a honeycomb in front of him with delicious honey pouring out. So this man forgets about the lion, forgets about the snake, and forgets about those 2 mice and just starts eating the honey and getting lost in that until he perishes in his heedlessness. Imam al-Ghazali is explaining that the lion is the angel of death. that is always chasing us. The snake is our grave that is always waiting for us. The time of our life is that rope. And the white mouse and the black mouse that are the day and night that are eating away at our time in this life. And that honey is this dunya, which makes us forget our death, makes us forget our grave, and makes us forget the reason that we were created. O believers, we must wake up from this heedlessness. We must wake up from ghaflat. We must understand that after our life in this dunya ends, we will be called to account for what we did in this world. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in Surah Al-Zumar, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the trumpet is blown, and those in the heavens and those in the earth, they swoon away, except those Allah wills. Then it is blown a second time, and at once they stand upright looking on, and the earth will shine with the glory of its Lord. The record of deeds will be placed open. The prophets and the witnesses will be brought forward, and a just decision decided between them, and they will not be wronged in the least. And to every soul will be paid in full the fruit of his deeds, and Allah knows best all that they do. And how can we prepare ourselves for that day? How can we prepare ourselves for that terrifying day? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing it, saying, when the deafening blast comes, the day a man will flee from his brother and his mother and his father and his wife and his children, on that day every man among them will have concerns enough of his own. How can we be ready to be judged for our actions? Our Seyh has taught us. It is by checking ourselves and judging ourselves before we reach that judgment place. By making every day that we live in this world our judgment day. So that we are checking ourselves, checking our progress, checking the wrong things that we did, and asking forgiveness for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to us in the Holy Quran, O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah, and let each individual look to what it has sent forward for tomorrow. Have taqwa of Allah. Allah is aware of what you do. The Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying, the intelligent man is the one who takes himself to account and works for what will come after death. The foolish man is the one who follows his own desires and hopes that his desires will be rewarded by Allah. And Farooq al-Azam, Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh, is echoing the words of the Rasulullah ﷺ, saying, judge yourself before you are judged. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing. Allah is swearing for the sake of those believers who take account of themselves in the Holy Quran. He is swearing for the sake of those believers who are judging themselves. In the Holy Quran, Allah is saying, I swear by the nafs al-lawama, the nafs that accuses itself. And Hazrat Hassan radiallahu anh is giving the tafsir of this ayat, saying, Wallahi, Allah is referring to the nafs of the believer. The believer is not seen except that he is blaming himself. What did I intend in my speech? What did I intend in my food? And what do I want to achieve by talking to myself? And the rebellious person, he does not take himself into account. So to have that nafsul lawama that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing, we must be taking our ego to account. we must be checking ourselves. We cannot be the stupid, foolish people that Holy Prophet ﷺ is describing and think we can just follow our desires and we will be okay. No, we have to be on guard against our nafs, because our ego, our nafs is our enemy. The Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying in this hadith sharif, your worst enemy is your ego, which hides inside of you. And the Siddiq al-Akbar, Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, is saying, whoever hates his nafs for the sake of Allah, he will be saved from what Allah hates. O believers, we must understand how dangerous this ego is. One of the great friends of Allah, Sultan Bahu, Qaddathallahu Sir, is describing the ego and saying, the stubborn ego is like a wild, vicious black dog that howls and screams without end. It eats your flesh. It drinks your blood. It lives on the left, shadowy side of your heart. It is evil and accursed. O Bahu, may the Lord save us all from its brutal attacks. We cannot fight this ego alone. Just as one man cannot defeat an entire army by himself, in the same way we cannot defeat our ego by ourselves. We need a helper. We need a guide. As Ghawsul Azam is saying, the correct strategies, the correct planning to fight the ego are explained and demonstrated by the inheritors of the prophets, the sheikhs. You should listen to their commands and act on them. They will guide you on the path of Allah, since they have already traveled on that path. Ask their advice on matters relating to the ego, desires and other weaknesses, because they have also suffered their consequences and are well aware of the dangers and harms of evil desires. They have battled these over a long period of time and can confront, control and defeat them. O believers, O murids, do not pass through this life heedlessly and headlessly. Understand that we have a huge work in this life, that we are on a journey. To complete this journey, to reach the destination in safety, we must put our hand in the hand of our Seyh, who will show us the way. Otherwise, we're going to be lost. Ya Alhamdulillah, we have been blessed with a guide, to have a master who is tough on the ego, Sahibul Seyh, Shaykh Abdul Kabir Rabbani. We have a Shaykh who looks maybe rough and tough, but in reality, that haybat, it is a mercy to us, because it pulls us out from the fire. Maybe we do not understand it, but he is the Seyh. He is the one who is seeing the way. Just like Maulana Rumi is telling the story, saying, once upon a time, an awliya was riding his horse, and he saw a snake crawling into a sleeping man's mouth. He began to whip that man. The man was terrified. He had no idea why he was being whipped. And that awliya kept whipping him and made him run to an apple tree where there were old rotten apples on the ground. And that awliya was whipping the man, saying, eat these apples. And the man started eating. And he was crying, saying, why are you doing this to me? What did I ever do to you? And that man started cursing to that awliya, asking Allah for revenge against the man who was whipping him for no reason and forcing him to eat rotten food. And the awliya kept whipping him and forced the man to eat so many rotten apples until he couldn't eat anymore. And then he kept whipping that man and made him run and run and run until finally the man threw up. And when he threw up, he saw that poisonous snake come out of his body. And when he saw that snake, he began kissing that awliya's feet, saying, are you Jibreel alayhi salam? Who are you? May the moment you saw me be blessed. I was dead and I didn't know it. You gave me new life. Everything I did to you was wrong and I didn't know. And that awliya said, if I had explained what I was doing, you would have panicked and died of fear. As the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, if I describe the enemy that lives inside men, even the most courageous one would be paralyzed. No one would go out or do any work. No one would pray or fast. And all power to change would fade from human beings to prevent it. And the awliya then said, I saw your condition and drove my horse hard into the middle of it, saying always under my breath. The awliya is saying, Ya Rabbi, make it easy on him. I didn't have permission to tell you, and I wasn't permitted to stop beating you. Take lesson. Thank the one who is fixing your ego, because he sees what you cannot. Do not be an ungrateful one who will be regretful on the day of judgment for doing wrong to the one who is saving his existence. Seyh is giving us reminder saying, once you enter this road, there is no turn. If you are turning back, then you are in a bigger trouble than ever before. Once you leave your guide, who is going in the front, then even if you find the road to go back to the Siratul Mustaqim again, you are going to suffer a lot. If you live 100% the laws and orders that Allah has given, you're keeping 5 times prayer, you're keeping fasting, you're keeping everything. Still, on the day of resurrection, when man is going to be raised from the grave sites, they will ask you, did you have a guide? Did you have a Seyh? If yes, then you don't need to answer. That Seyh is going to come, collecting everybody and bringing them to the judgment place. Those who don't have a Seyh, as a first punishment, they will stand at their grave sites in the dark for 1,000 years. Live for Allah. Living for Allah is not living for your ego. You have to leave the wrong characteristics of the ego aside. You have to hold on tightly to the teachings of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Otherwise, it's only claiming. It's only for ego in the name of living for Allah. O believers, this is for me and for you. Do not obey the ego. Always obey our Seyh. Ameen. Stop.